This is Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla.
The great Kevin Scholla.
Welcome to the Palin Update Radio Magazine for February 2018.
Thicken your skin and you march forth with your message, your priorities, your agenda that you believe is right for America.
Thanks so much for joining us as we broadcast from the Full Battle Rattle Studios, coming to you anytime at mamagrizzlyradio.com and also available at sarahpalin.com. Governor Palin wowed the crowd in Texas this month. She was the keynote speaker at the Denton County GOP Lincoln Reagan dinner. Our very own Tamara Colbert was on hand. We'll have much more on her very special night coming up. And our guest today was also at the event to hear Palin's remarks. Former Irving, Texas Mayor Beth Van Dyne. We get an exclusive take from Mayor Van Dyne in just a moment. Plus, we'll see what's happening in Alaska as well as nationally with Sarah Palin News. And a brand new installment of Liberty and Legacy with Tamara Colbert is on the way from Texas. The Palin Update Radio Magazine on Mama Grizzly Radio is sponsored by Full Battle Rattle. Full Battle Rattle, helping veterans suffering from combat-related disabilities through the healing power of music. Learn more at facebook.com/FullBattleRattleAVQ. Mayor Beth Van Dyne is our special guest today. She has been an innovative and successful public servant in the Lone Star State, and she is a great common-sense conservative. We are happy to welcome the mayor back to Mama Grizzly Radio today. Mayor, thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing this evening?
Doing well. It is great to have you here again. We spoke to you a while back, and we really wanted to have you on this time because of the big event that happened earlier this month in Texas, in your home state, your state now, of course, and where you served as mayor in Irving, but you were over in Denton County for their big GOP Lincoln Reagan dinner, and the keynote speaker, Governor Sarah Palin. And, we're going to get Tamara's take on the whole thing a little bit later in the program, but, I wanted to get yours, too. I know you got to see the governor, and I also want to talk about her remarks there that night and what you got from it and what you thought the perception was from the crowd. So first off, let's talk about running into Governor Palin. That was before the speech. How was that?
Yeah, it was great. When I was on city council, when she had first come out in the vice presidential debate, which I just think that she did a phenomenal job. I remember being interviewed by the radio in Dallas asking me, my thoughts on her debate. And I just remember being so thrilled to be able to talk about her, and then being able to meet her in person was it was great, because I just remember back to that time and how she performed on that national stage, and I think she blew everyone away. And it was great to be able to meet her. There was a huge line to see her. She is obviously still beloved, and even though we're in Denton County and in Texas, her fame goes well beyond. So huge line to see her. Lots of people she made happy that night.
Yeah, when you're in person there like that and you see her, you see that. But it's funny, they try to paint quite a different picture, right, on social media and in the actual media about Palin. They call her irrelevant. They say all these names, but then the people who are calling her irrelevant are the ones who are tweeting and Facebook posting about her.
The ones who are irrelevant are typically the ones who are calling her irrelevant are typically irrelevant.
Yeah, they're taking the time to speak.
They're trying to gain their relevancy through her.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's unique in that way. But she has really captured so many people through different avenues like that, through social media, through the way she's connected with people, and you've heard a lot of people, and I don't think it's far from the truth, who really say Governor Palin really cleared the path for someone like Donald Trump to become the president of the United States, because, she went out there and campaigned in a way that we hadn't seen, the actual straight talking. I mean, obviously she was muzzled at times from those in the McCain campaign, but we know when Governor Palin, brings it full blast, you know how she speaks, and that's something that would bode well for Donald Trump down the road. So, high praise toward Governor Palin, but I think there's some truth to that.
Well, I tell you, I think people are sick of politicians who speak, but they don't say a word. They go on, but they don't say anything. And I think people are starving for leaders who say what they're going to do and then do what they're going to say. And, to hear it straightforward and somebody who talks to you like you're a human being, and somebody who gets it. I mean, it is phenomenal. I mean, her speech was very well done. I mean, she made so many points. She said so many things that everybody's thinking, but so many people are scared to say because, God forbid, if you make sense, you're deemed a hater. They throw labels at you. And I will give her credit. I mean, she has never, shied away from that. And she thinks she says what a lot of people think, and it's refreshing. And I think our president does the exact same thing. And we have shied away from that for so long and just become so vanilla that you really don't know where a politician stands. And if I'm going to support somebody, I want to know what they think and what they really think. And through that, what their actions are going to be.
What about the speech itself? What stood out to you? And for you personally, what did you like the best? And how did you feel she connected with the crowd?
The crowd loved her, without a doubt. I mean, the crowd was extraordinarily receptive and responsive. I mean, she got a lot of cheers. But, I mean, the points that she made on just where our country is these days and the left being so hypocritical, arguing about, tolerance and yet being the most intolerant, arguing about forgiving and yet being the first to point the finger. She talked about how our law enforcement is under the gun, and yet, we make excuses for illegal immigrants. And it's just, when we start looking at those kind of common sense, pragmatic approaches, you go back 50 years, none of this would have happened. People had a much, larger sense of pride in our country. And, I think she probably got the largest round of applause when she talked about standing for our country and standing for our pledge and how important that is, and in really having that sense of nationalism. And I think that was probably her shining moment when she talked about that.
Yeah, literally standing, and then you are figuratively standing for the country. And,
exactly right.
It's just amazing how it's lost on some. So much credit to the women's Olympic hockey team that took home the gold medal this month.
Yes!
After they won, I mean, as exciting as it was. And
sorry, Canada. Yeah.
Sorry. And I was out that night very late at a basketball game with my son, but I was up. I watched that thing live, and, I mean, was as nervous as I could be. And I tell you what, to see them, arms around each other, swaying back and forth, singing every word of that anthem. And it was with such real, palpable pride and looking at the flag, doing it how you should, so excited. And then also, each one of them just wanted to run with the flag, it was for America. It wasn't just for themselves and the sport and, their teammates. They were happy to be for our country, and a lot of the comments they gave too. And so it just drives home the point even more for those of us who did dump the NFL, or at least, go after and critique the NFL for what they did. I think baseball did a nice job in the World Series, and now the Olympic women really showing, what it's like to really care about your flag and your country and to be a proud American. And it just shows how silly that whole thing has been from these, elite players.
And I've loved watching the Olympics. I mean, because you're exactly right. It is about pride in your country, and they're showing it firsthand. I mean, these are, some of the best athletes in the world, and they're representing the USA, and we're doing so proudly. There's no embarrassment there. We're doing so proudly, and we should. What we stand for, what we do on a daily basis, we should be proud of. Of course, can we improve? Yes, absolutely. Nobody's perfect. No country will ever be perfect. But I'll tell you what, when you compare us to countries around the world and what we stand for, what we do, how we treat people, what we value, I mean, we stand head and shoulders above. And what I tell people, especially young women, that I go out and I try to get them more involved in politics, and I try to get them more involved in actually running for election and being leaders. What I tell them is, if you don't like this country and you think you could do better and you're going to complain about our leaders, then go out there and become one. You will never agree with a politician, elected official, a representative 100%. But if you don't agree with them and you think you can do a better job, then run, do it. Um, for years now, I see people complain and complain, and many times they don't even vote.
Right.
And it's disheartening when you look around the country or you look around the world and you see other countries where people fight to vote, where they'll stand in line for hours upon hours. And we can't even get, in local elections, more than 10 to 15% of our voting population out. And that is a frustrating sign. And the fact that we have such apathy across the country, really, we need to address that.
Well, I think you hit the word. I've said it for years and years. I believe apathy is on top of the list when you look at those. We elected Barack Obama twice, so you could stop right there. But when you look at your congressional people, forget about the people who aren't voting that you just mentioned. Great point. Most of them that are voting don't even know who they're voting for or who they are in the lower, quote unquote, lower offices, which Governor Palin said, many, many times. Sometimes those are the most important offices. These are the people who are, really taking care of the neighborhood that you actually live in on a day-to-day basis. But, I think it's very timely right now, too, even though we're not in election season right now, and it's, not a presidential year, obviously.
We're always in election season.
Right. Although it is presidential election, although it is a very big year coming up there. But the whole situation in Florida with the school massacre and now the way the children that were involved there are being exploited by the media and by those on the left and by those, who want to, dismantle our Second Amendment. I think this is a great example of where apathy plays its role. And the left uses it. They wait for the tragedy to happen. So whether it be a shooting and then we're going to go after guns, or whether it be a flood and then we're going to talk global warming or, weather issues. Same thing here. They count on this because they pull at the heartstrings, and then you have some well-meaning people who, if you ask them, they're going to say, oh, yes, I'm for gun control, because they're being told these things that they don't know about because they're not following what's really going on politically today or constitutionally from our founders.
I think pointing the finger and pointing blame at somebody is the easiest and laziest thing you can do. From gun control to exactly racism and all of it.
Yeah.
You can point your finger and you can lay blame, but coming up with solutions is so much more difficult. Governing is so much more difficult, and being a leader. And I don't see these solutions coming from the left. I see complaints. And yet, the solution that they have for gun control, for these mass shootings, take away the gun. Anybody who's had a toddler will tell you, you don't give a 3-year-old boy a toy gun. Okay, he's going to take that paper towel roll and he's going to make a gun out of it.
That's right.
When people want to commit violence, they will use anything. They'll use a plane. They'll use a car. They'll use a knife. They'll use a pressure cooker. Right?
We've seen
you got
it.
The crock pot. We can focus our energies on the weapon, or we can look at the cause. And it's a lot more complicated. And it will take some more solutions. It will take all of us working together. But quite frankly, it's a lazy way out. And they make it 100% political, and it's not about saving lives. It's about getting elected, and it's about causing enough stink that you get your name out there and name recognition. And that's embarrassing. And as Americans, we're better than that, and we should expect better than that from our elected officials.
Hey, somebody might even build an alarm clock. You never know what can happen.
Oh,
but Mayor, it's really funny though, and not funny, but you know what I mean. Of what you're saying here as far as the gun situation, we've seen other things implement. Look at Halloween with the vehicle running people over in New York City. Okay, there was just a knife attack in Asia. No coverage. This ban on guns that they would like. They've already had this attitude. It's people control. It's not gun control. And in order to look at the people in the past who have wanted to take your guns, right? Nazis, Klan members. This is who wants guns. Okay, so and you get politicians. They think the Second Amendment's about hunting. They don't even know where to start.
It never says anything about hunting in the Constitution.
Exactly.
The whole point is that you were able to have a citizenry that could stand up against a tyrant government. That was the point. I mean, that was what the Second Amendment was about. It wasn't about hunting. Nowhere did to say that.
And then my second question to people, who are, just screaming off of emotion or off of what they're hearing from the media is this. Why is it every time we see an officer fire his firearm, they say bad man, bad cop, but when some maniac goes in and takes out our children, they say bad gun. So right. Now we're even picking and choosing. I mean, we know this. This is the Alinsky, Obama, Clinton, whatever way. We know, but it's amazing if you really think about it, and that people actually nod and go, "Oh, that makes sense." Like, really? Did you really hear? They say one thing, and then it's a complete opposite when it doesn't fit your narrative or your agenda.
Oh, you're just being hateful.
You're
right. Ignorant.
That's right. the haterade is flowing.
Right. I mean,
yes, me and LeBron are drinking.
When it's an illegal immigrant who shoots somebody, it is it's culture's fault. It's not their fault. But you're absolutely right. It's the gun's fault. We have to ban all guns. But if it's a police officer using it to defend himself or to defend other innocent people, we put the blame at the police. It's like we can't, as a country, we just can't seem to get this right. But as a conservative voice, I mean, we have to continue to be loud. We have to continue to speak very plainly, very directly. These are the values that we stand for. We stand for the Constitution. We stand for individual rights, and we stand for limited government insofar as it can help, save us, but not from ourselves. And we should never look at government as a solution for everything. And once we start looking at and have that entitlement mentality, we have lost our way. And I'm afraid that we're starting to lose our way, but I'm optimistic. I mean, the election last November, November of 2016, really, I think, gave hope to this country that, we realized how far we had gone down that bad path, and we are willing as a nation, as voters, to get up and start fighting it. And I, for one, I applaud the works of this administration. I'm proud to be fighting for it, and I think we're getting a lot done. I think we can get more. It would be great if Republicans could actually stand together, get behind the administration, get behind those core Republican values and conservative values. But we need to work together as a party and stop the separation and the division. We already see too much of that in our society now. We don't need to be doing it as a party.
Some on the left and others scoff at the idea of an armed guard at schools or even a plainclothes marshal, things of that nature. Why do you think someone thinks it's okay to guard Beyonce and all our politicians and our banks, our sporting events, our concerts, museum, but our kids, not so much. We have to, make sure we're telling them to not say Christmas or Columbus. We're busy in here. I mean, what's the deal there? Is it they really believe this, or half of them believe it, and the other half just say it for votes, or what are we doing?
No, they really believe it. A few years ago, I attended an event at a local university, and there was a professor from Harvard that was there, and it was talking about immigration. And he asked the crowd quite, plainly, who in this audience is for a thoughtful, thorough reevaluation of our immigration process to allow those people who are here and fighting for the American way to continue to stay. And about half the audience raised their hand. And then he followed that by, and how many of you here just want to send them home? Right. So if that question right there already didn't set up the audience of good and bad, I don't know what did. He proceeded to put everybody who had any issue with other than open borders down. Mm-hmm. As soon as they started talking, he just cut into them. And finally, I couldn't take it anymore. And he was a Harvard professor, and so I raised my hand, and I said, excuse me, you are from Harvard, right? Arguably one of the best educational institutions in the world. And he looked at me and said, well, I don't know. And I said, you're from Harvard. You represent the school. Own it. Arguably one of the best schools in the world. What do you have to do to get into Harvard? You have to be tested. You have to get letters of support. You have to show that you have skills. You have to write an essay explaining it. You have to have teacher recommendations. And then, even then, you accept less than 5%. Now, I ask you, you tell me how good Harvard would be if tomorrow anybody that applied, anybody that came to one of your lectures had to be let in. They didn't have to do any work to get there, but you had to let everybody who wanted to be there in. You tell me how long it would take Harvard to drop down in that ranking. And he had no response to it. And it's because a lot of these academic institutions, just like some of the others, they hide behind, their ivory towers, where they are hand-picked people, literally hand-picked people, who surround them. They are not in the real world. Well, there are a lot of us who live in the real world who see it for what it is, and realize we cannot continue down that type of path where we just ignore the laws, and we have a lawless country where it's convenient.
You talk about a professor, they use their position to tell everybody, hey, I'm going to pontificate now. I'm smarter than you, so you listen to me. Open borders are good. You also see this in a more subtle way, but I notice this a lot. I always pick this up. You look in the morning, whatever news source or whatever you're looking at on the internet or headlines, and just words that aren't technically incorrect, but the way they're used, what they're trying to get out of it. Like, for instance, if the president says anything, they will say Trump's rant on whatever.
Yes.
So
yes.
Now rant isn't...
But that's unbiased, right? That's
now,
unbiased.
Now a rant isn't necessarily a negative thing if you technically look at the definition, but we know that means, oh, here he goes, yelling and being a baby. Yep. This is what they want. Same thing with the people who are, spouting off about gun control now instead of protecting our schools. Every 14-year-old who makes a comment, powerful message. Oh, I mean, the words are put in there. The opinion is made for you, even though, some of the people were eating Tide Pods a few weeks ago. So, I just, wouldn't it also be nice and look, we need to take care of our kids. There's no doubt about that. And the outpouring from people is a good thing. But wouldn't it be nice, for all the babies that are aborted and the abortions in this country and that abortion culture, if people cared as much as they do for, say an unborn child, as they claim to care for those now? And even now they pick and choose, because I don't hear much about the kids who are gunned down in Chicago every night. Nobody's talking about them.
Well, you hear about that pro-choice. It's pro-choice for women, but what about pro-choice for people who want to own a gun?
Right.
It's not pro-choice.
Right, or have health insurance, or my
there you go. That's them.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very good.
My light bulb, my car. I can't even my Pepsi. I mean, come on.
Or wearing a seatbelt. I mean, it is where it's convenient for a specific narrative. But you got to give them credit. You got to give the left credit. They all got the same talking points, and they all talk from that list.
And I have. That's why, especially, and you heard this a lot from Romney and from McCain, trying to say Barack Obama is over his head, Hillary Clinton's this. People call them stupid. I said, are you kidding me? I said, they have this down to a science. I didn't say they aren't the worst, but I did, I will tell you, they know exactly what they're doing, and you're falling for it, left and right. And that's why I think people just want some honesty. I think that's why a lot of, when you saw Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan and those states that flipped and went for Donald Trump, a lot of those people probably didn't agree with him on some of the issues, but I think a lot of the working class and people who maybe were Democrats or maybe didn't even vote, I think they looked and said, you know what? I don't know that I agree with him on everything, but I do know that he sticks with what he says, and I actually believe him because he never apologizes, and like every other politician with some pre-written thing, and he comes out and he stands with, whatever he stands with. And I think that goes a long way when you see all this fake stuff, because otherwise they pick and choose, when a life is important, when it's the gun or the man, when it's the, global warming, or no, this was just a coincidence. They use it when it looks bad at conservatives, and they use it the other way when it puts a liberal in a good light.
Yes, absolutely. And we see it over and over and over again. But, I think we just need to be more vocal. We absolutely need to be more vocal and not apologize. My daughter, she's 19, and she recently attended, the pro-life march in Texas. And,
that's great.
I'm proud of her.
Good
I'm
for
really
her.
proud of her. I totally support her on that. And we should not be embarrassed because we have Christian values, because we're conservative, because we are, pro-life, because we are pro-Constitution.
Joy Behar has told us we are weird if we think those things. So I don't know if you're right on that one. But
well, let me tell you, when I start giving a rat's patooey about what Joe Behar thinks, God help me, I have lost my way.
A lot of friends at the pro-life march and those who were there, they said it's just so refreshing and encouraging to see all the young people like your daughter who are there, because this is where we're going. It's great for us to say these things, but if you have a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds who are thinking the opposite, we're in a lot of trouble. And that's not the case. The media would make you think that's the case. But actually, you have a lot of great young people in this country who are really, who love this country and will stand up for life and will stand up for our values. And, God bless her and great for her, because it does take a lot, because, it's one thing for us to get through something and let it roll, or for Governor Palin, and even President Trump with all the nonsense he goes through from all the people coming at you. But for a young kid, you could see people backing down, and, so that's great.
Well, and it's important, though, that we respect people who have different opinions, and that we are willing to listen to a thoughtful discourse, because compromise is going to win out, and it needs to win out. The shouting and the hatefulness and the divisiveness, it's destructive. It is not making our country stronger. It's not making our youth want to get more engaged in the political process.
Right.
I mean, every single time you turn on a radio or a TV station, you open up the paper, you open a social media site, and it is on both sides.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
just a nasty,
but it's by design. It's by design. It said, look, if I call this person a name, if I go ad hominem on him, if I shout him down, the goal is to stop them at that moment, but the real goal is to not have them speak up again. We're going to silence you by threats and scare. And you can understand someone who may not be confrontational. Look at the people. I mean, you didn't see the Trump stickers on the cars for as many people that voted for him. We had our signs stolen. I don't remember how many times the police were at our house. And I'll tell you what, they just got the stickers off my car. It took 2 years and 2 months. And I came out of a basketball game earlier this month, and they were both partially ripped off. They couldn't get them off because they were on for so long. And then I had to go and take them with some cooking spray. But I have more, so they'll have to come again. But it took them 2 years and 2 months. But that's what they do. So, hey, what are you up to? What's going on now that you're out of the mayor's office?
Well, I'm actually working with the Trump administration.
And tell everybody what you're doing.
I'm with Housing and Urban Development. I'm working with Secretary Carson. And my last few months have been really focused on helping this state with recovering from Hurricane Harvey. It's been an opportunity to work with mayors and elected officials and county judges and our state and federal partners to empower from the grassroots level, moving up, as opposed to a federal plan pushing down, actually empowering our local and county officials to tell us what plans they want to put in place, and trying with limited resources to get these communities back together.
Well, they have the right woman for the job. Beth Van Dyne, we appreciate your time and glad you got to see Governor Palin and Tamara at the big event in Texas. And you're welcome here anytime, as you know. And please keep doing what you're doing, and we will talk soon, I hope.
You take care at any time. Anytime. It was a pleasure.
Mayor Beth Van Dyne, what a fantastic guest. Just a great start to our program here in 2018 with Victoria Jackson and Beth Van Dyne. We are certainly grateful for their appearances. Now, it is time for Sarah Palin News, headlines, and more about Governor Palin. Governor Palin and her family are saddened after the passing of the amazing Billy Graham. Palin remembers some of Graham's greatest work. Palin reflects on how Andrew Breitbart stood up for her when others ran and hid. The governor points at the failure of the FBI, not guns, in the Florida school massacre. Palin calls out weak GOP members for capitulating on a budget deal. Condolences to the family of the man who hacked Governor Palin's email. Jerry Kramer finally makes the Football Hall of Fame. Congratulations, sir. And Governor Palin showcases my Breitbart story on Tim Tebow's amazing Night to Shine. Just a beautiful event run by the foundation of the former Gator and current Mets minor leaguer. Sarah Palin also features my piece on Todd Palin and the Iron Dog race in Alaska. You can check out that story at sarahpalin.com. Thank you so much, Governor. To read about all of these stories, visit the Mama Grizzly Radio Facebook page. To see any of the governor's posts in their entirety and to read her devotionals, visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page. Follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA. Check out her Instagram at sarahpalin97. And, of course, be sure to visit sarahpalin.com.
Now, the Palin Update with Kevin Scholla presents Liberty and Legacy. Here's Tamara Colbert.
Okay, this is my favorite Mama Grizzly Liberty and Legacy episode that I've ever done. You're probably thinking, what in the world is she talking about? Well, I recently had the privilege of getting to meet Governor Sarah Palin for the first time. And it's a crack up because one of my friends told me, hey, Governor Palin is coming to speak at this event near us. And before we had finished the conversation, I had already gone online and purchased a table for the event because I wanted my whole family, including my kids, husband, mom, grandma, to go. Because we're a Palin family. What can I say? And I got to be honest, meeting famous people can be really tricky because we're all human, right? And humans always have a tendency to disappoint. We all fall short of the glory of God. So I've had some great fun experiences meeting iconic people over the years and sitting with them and dining with them and being part of industry groups together. I've always taken away those meetings as divine appointments and appreciated them for exactly that moment in time. The thing with Governor Palin is I didn't want to be disappointed. I kind of thought, oh my goodness, please don't let me be disappointed in meeting her. We have prayed for Governor Palin so many times in the last decade, which it's hard to believe it's been a decade since she was John McCain's running mate in 2008. What has happened in that decade has been a Democrat onslaught of outrageous, divisive, hurtful, despicable behavior. Something I've never, ever witnessed before in my life. I've never been exposed to that. It wasn't how I was brought up. I wasn't around that type of behavior. So as a Tea Party leader in California, Pasadena, California, not only did my family pray for her, but our Tea Party prayed for her. We asked, most importantly, not just for God's protection for that family, the Palin family, but to not let them get negative and jaded or lose faith in our nation because of a handful of really nasty, ugly people. And I'm sorry, but that is what today's Democrat Party has become. A party of nasty, ugly, divisive, despicable people. I might be a deplorable, they're despicable. I had never block walked before 2008, but I decided because of Governor Palin, I was going to take charge of my neighborhood during the McCain-Palin campaign. So I learned how to block walk and door knock and internalize campaign details and platform notables. And I pushed my twins, who were 2 at the time, in that jogging stroller all over our neighborhood in Pasadena, one end to the other, trying to get people to support John McCain because of Sarah Palin. And let me be clear, if there was any doubt, the only reason my family supported John McCain's campaign is because of Governor Sarah Palin. And I have to say, my grandmother, she's 93 now. She was excited to meet Sarah Palin too, because the first time she got to see and hear Governor Palin was when she was 85 years old. And she and my parents drove to D.C. to protest Obamacare at the Capitol because Governor Palin and Mark Levin were keynoting that event, and they wanted to be part of history. So I come from a family of strong, independent, truth-filled, kingdom-focused women, which is amazing. I am blessed because of it. And my mom and grandma taught me how to be fearless, which is why I've always thought, Governor Palin, she is my sister from another mister, my sister in Christ, my sister in liberty and in life. Just think, I have to say this for a moment. Imagine if Governor Palin had been a Democrat. What would her life be like now? She'd be revered. She'd be the poster girl of Democrat feminism and girl power and smarts. She'd be headlining everything. And Lord knows she would have already been in Washington as some heir apparent to something or other. But what I love is that Governor Palin chose her own path, one she believed was God's divine leading for her life and her family's life. And that included a reverence for life, love of nature, and nature's God and everything America and Alaska. And of course, her revered appreciation for the Second Amendment and the other amendments that get protected because we have the Second Amendment. Her road, less traveled, is the authentic American girl story. And frankly, it's what makes her sparkle and gives her light. She is absolutely polarizing to the left because when light appears, darkness shrinks. And that is why a decade later, Governor Sarah Palin is still a serious and credible threat to those bad Democrat hombres and the status quo everywhere. Ha! She's awesome. I love that. She's a disruptor before disruptors were fashionable. And it started with her glasses. It started with her being pregnant while she was governor. And it started with her choosing life for her unborn son when she could have taken a much easier approach. Through her trials and choices and her family being family, she has always held her head up high with grace and dignity and God leading her. Needless to say, she is my kind of people, an authentic America's kind of people. So we get to the event and we head to the VIP room because that's what I've been instructed to do, to let her people know that my family was there because Governor Palin had been told that we would be there. So I just got to say, I'm a redneck woman and I am not used to hanging out in any VIP room anywhere. VIP was not born on the bottom of my shoes or feet or tattooed or anything. I'm just an authentic American gal who appreciates divine appointments. I have planned enough events to know that it was not going to be easy for me to get into that VIP room, right? And sure enough, the little GOP gatekeeper wouldn't even tell Sarah's team that my family and I were there. So we're standing out there. There's ladies in sequins and diamonds and furs dressed to the hilt walking past us. We're there in our down jackets because it's cold and our best denim and cowboy boots and our blazers that we could find. And we were excited. Oh, and the twins, they wore their Donald Trump ties. They were so proud to wear those Donald Trump ties for Governor Palin. What I just appreciated is a minute that I said, you know, God, we're getting close to the end, and I'm going to need a little bit of divine interference if we're going to get in to say hello. And he gave it to me in the unlikely person of former Irving, Texas mayor and Sharia law killer, Miss Beth Van Dyne. I said, Mayor Beth, as she walked out of the VIP room, thank you for everything you did to protect Texas against Sharia law. And she asked me my name, and I told her, it's Tamara. She said, Tamara, Sarah and I have been waiting for you. Where have you been? Let's go in and meet her. And I grabbed my family, and we all traipsed into the VIP room. And it was hysterical, right past all these people that treated us like we were nothing. But it's okay. It's fine. So here we are, the end of the VIP time. And it took a long time to get in there, I must say. But you know what, Governor Palin, I just got to say, I apologize that when you stuck out your hand to shake mine, I could not shake your hand, girl. I had to give you a Texas-sized hug because I have prayed for you. I have championed you, supported you and my family. And man, you are awesome. And thank you. Thank you for being fascinated and appreciating my twins and my husband, getting to meet my first dude. And yes, we got photos, awesome selfie, so fun. You just were amazing. You treated my family like we were the only people there. And that's rare in this day and age. And I have been around a lot of people. So with this genuine, authentic affection and kindness, the best highlight for me was how special she treated my grandma and my mom. By the way, she is beautiful, beautiful that comes from the inside out. And so forget about it. When you see Governor Palin on TV, nope, doesn't even come close to what she looks like in person and the glow that comes off of her because of what her heart is like. We got to meet Bristol, we got to meet Tripp, and I just have to say when I met Bristol, wow. Again, stunning what gifts God has given the Palin family. It didn't hit me, though, until the next day that she wasn't jaded. She was awesome and fun and sassy and savvy and smart and witty and sweet and charming and warm and affectionate. The left couldn't move Sarah Palin no matter how hard they have tried for a decade. This woman is beyond them. She is transformed because she is kingdom focused, not earthly focused. And to know that she truly loves life, God, liberty, and the American people, my whole family thought, wow, look at that, a decade worth of prayers from us and millions of Americans who've done the same thing. We felt our prayers have been answered. There's still more prayers to go because each of us needs prayers. We need to keep each other. We need to lift each other up so we in turn can lift our nation up. Governor Palin, the Lord is not finished with you yet. That's for sure. And when you come to Texas the next time, we would love to invite you over for a real Texas barbecue. And I just got to say thank you to my buddy, Kevin Shola. Man, you are rock solid in where you stand. You were amazing. And I just was not expecting what you really did for my family. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for such the role that you played in making this special divine appointment happen, man. You rock. This is my favorite Mama Grizzly that I've ever gotten to do. This is my liberty and my legacy. It is one of knowing that we have tremendous American patriots out there. Some of us will never be known. Our names will never get written in a history book, and I'm fine with that. But we can know that together we are working. Our prayers matter for people like Governor Palin, President Trump, Vice President Pence, and all of our cabinet members. We must continue to raise these people up and lift them up in prayers, support what they are doing in the field, support the candidates that they are endorsing. And this is how God uses us together as part of an American team to elevate our country and to really make America great again. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you all. I'm Tamara Colbert. Woohoo! For Mama Grizzly Radio. Be blessed. Talk to you soon.
Tamara Colbert in Texas. Tune in for more liberty and legacy on the next edition of the Palin Update. And to learn about Convention of States, head to conventionofstates.com. The Palin Update, including Liberty and Legacy, is on demand and available for download. So just head to mamagrizzlyradio.com, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. You can also tune in at sarahpalin.com. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update radio magazine on Mama Grizzly Radio. Visit mamagrizzlyradio.com for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also, like Mama Grizzly Radio on Facebook and follow along on Twitter at Mama Grizz Radio, at Kevin Shola, at Tamara Colbert, and at FBRABQ. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Go to Breitbart.com and search Kevin Shola. I'm also contributing at sarahpalin.com. Honored to be working on the governor's incredible site. I want to thank Tamara Colbert and everyone here at Mama Grizzly Radio. Thanks to Beth Van Dyne. And thank you for listening today. A special thanks to our sponsor, Full Battle Rattle. Visit facebook.com/Full Battle Rattle ABQ. The Palin Update is produced by Lena Anderson, the Andy L. Kramer, and Lori Ann Lewis. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update radio magazine on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Shola. Have a pleasant day.